Well, indeed, we are here. Welcome to Amityville Horror. We are doing currently still the Amityville Horror Days, and we're going to be talking some more holiday Christmas horror films. So today I'm going to be Jolly St. Clint, and with me is my stand-in co-host Mike Mistletoe Mazzy that we have coming over from the Scream Until You Like It Facebook group. And I thought for sure you'd say "what the fuck" as soon as I let that out of my mouth, but okay, we'll go with it. And and today we're going to be talking about a movie that's been out on Tubi for a little while. It is a Christmas holiday film. It's called He Knows, and of course we brought in Mr. Stephen Anthony Morris, the writer and director of that film and actor in the film, to discuss it with us. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Keeping busy with the holiday season and such, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you recently just made a move, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, still moving, as you can see with all the boxes behind me. I'm at the old house right now with the internet, trying to move stuff to the new house. So I'm like, that's not, like knock out all my internet things I need today. So
Oh, okay. So like the heat's not on and stuff. I'm surprised I can't see your breath.
yeah, dude, I've got a little heater like right here. Yesterday I did an interview on a podcast and I'm sitting there the whole time, cold breath, freezing. I'm like, am I stuttering too much? You're like, nah, man, you're good. I'm like, thank you.
Well, congratulations on the new house. I hope the move is going smooth for you.
Not too bad.
Yeah. So you got plans for that? You're gonna have a nice big studio set up in there where you can do all of your like editing and things like that.
Hopefully. Right now it's just wherever I can throw out my computer and just right away, because I'm like actor, writer, director, producer, so I try to dabble in whatever I can get my hands on. PA, crafty, I'll plan it all, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I get what you're
throw me in a
saying.
corner and I'm good to go.
Yeah. So we were having a look at your IMDb page, and it looks like the credits on it don't go back super far. So I was wondering how early you are into your career with filmmaking.
I'd say I'm pretty early. So I went to the Art Institute for digital filmmaking video production back in 2008, 2009. Got about 2.5 years of that under my belt. Dropped out of college, came back to Indiana, started a family. Both of my kids got into school. And once they got in school, I started to dabble a little bit more in acting and was like, you know what? I want to do the rest of it too. I want to write, direct, produce, just to make sure I get the whole story out that I'm hoping to get.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So did you start with like background work, or were you doing like behind the scenes stuff? I mean, how'd that
Yes,
go
I
for
did
you?
a little bit of all of that, PA background, just crafty, whatever I can get on set with. So bigger film wise, I've done like Hellfest, Jungle Cruise, Nashville as like background extras. Uh,
Okay.
those were all a lot of crazy fun experiences. Whereas a background extra, you get a better idea of how sets work. A lot of
Yeah.
hurry up and wait, as I would call it. Just waiting for the next scene to be shot, and you kind of see how all the different departments operate. And the same thing goes with like a PA as well. It's like you get a bigger bird's eye view of kind of what the job is for all the different departments, so it's easier to kind of figure out what is more appealing to you. For me, anyway, I was like background, PA, actor, writer, director, producers, all that stuff. So I was just like, those are what interest me. I'm not going to be a camera guy. I can't do lighting, sound, all that, but I can dabble in it. But I just know
Yeah.
that's my focus.
Yeah. Well, you don't do it yet, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, independent director or filmmaker or whatever. You got to wear every hat on set. So some days you'll do it all.
yeah, exactly. That seems to be the reoccurring theme. For people who really they do the independent thing. They're super passionate about the project they're working on, and they just don't have enough money or they don't have enough people. They end up taking on like multiple roles of their own or asking people to work for free. And just any way to get the job done. And I think that's super awesome. That so many people care enough to make a movie that they're willing to do things like that.
Oh, absolutely. It was insane. I had a lot of people come to me like, hey, I know you can't pay me, but I'd love to be on set and help out. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Please don't do it if you can't, don't hurt yourself getting a set, don't,
Yeah.
schedule off work and all that stuff. But if you can make it, we'd love to have you.
Yeah. And some of these other projects that you've worked on, I mean, I wouldn't say all of them, but some of them I've heard of. I mean, definitely the Embalmers. We talked to Rebecca Reinhardt a few months ago and actually got a screener for that. And that was a cool little movie. And I actually recently got a copy of it sent here because I was like, well, it's not really getting distributed. She's kind of just doing it herself. So I was like, well, if I ever want to see it again, I certainly I'm gonna have to buy one. Mike got one too, didn't you,
My
Mike?
DVD's on the way.
Yeah.
I just spoke to her the other night. She sent me one.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now is the self-distribution route, so I don't have to worry about anybody telling me what I can and can't do with my own film, So here, hopefully within the next month or so, I'll be able to have the physical copies for mine as well, so I can start touring around the festival circuit and conventions and such.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that actually leads right into something that I wanted to ask you about was kind of like this movie He Knows. If what your future plans for the distribution of it were, and if there was going to be like Blu-rays and merch, if you were going to do cons, and what type of promotion you were trying to do.
Oh, absolutely. So the first convention that I'm signed up for next year is going to be a little horror con here in Evansville, Indiana. It's ran by the same people that run RaptorCon. So
Okay.
that's going to be pretty cool. Hopefully by then I should have a lot of physical merch. I've got a whole Redbubble website that has like phone cases, t-shirts, skirts, random everything you can imagine with like a little Sammy the Elf image. So like the shirt my character wore in the film, the Jason character, that's like black and white with a little elf. That's for my merch store. You may have seen like a scene with Julie actually, where she's laying on the bed and there's like a little Sammy the Elf pillow next to her. That's another thing that's on the merch store for Redbubble.
I didn't even notice that.
I'm like, I must have it, so I just buy all these things myself. Hopefully other people will eventually too. But
yeah, that's pretty awesome. Well, I'll have to keep my eyes open for that. And of course, as ads for that become available, I'd like to share them on the page and things like that. Because I might be interested in maybe getting a shirt or a Blu-ray or something like that. Is there going to be like special features, like a making of type deal or something like that?
So I don't have making of just because it was such a hectic making. That extra people to be like, hey, film me fucking life up. A lot of trial and error on this set, I would say. It went pretty smooth, but for me, I was like on the inside just exploding with emotions. Like, oh my God, this didn't go as planned, that didn't go as planned. So when you ask about special features, there's actually a scene with Julie and Eddie where, we see a lot more with their two characters before we were introduced into the characters in a film. So it's a little bit of what they were doing before we see them in a film. So that'll be a deleted scene on the Blu-ray. That was another situation where it was like, budget, scheduling, locations, all of that just fell apart. We shot some coverage with Julie and this other actor, but couldn't shoot the other actors in that scene. So there was like a complete rewrite after we shot their coverage and lost them, because Julie's all the way out in, I want to say Nevada or something like that. And we're all the way here in Indiana. My other guy was like in South Bend or something like that. So it was just, get everybody back. It was just like, all right, rewrite. But we got that scene all shot. So we're like, yeah, let's throw it on a Blu-ray. We got some deleted scenes, some extended scenes with like Sean Phillips, as you guys know, he's just like an improv god. So we just got him just like a couple of takes of this dude just going back and forth with this other cop, just saying the most ridiculously funny stuff, man. And we cut a lot of the funny stuff, honestly. I don't know how we managed to do that, but I'm looking at this deleted scenes and I'm just like, well, I wouldn't say deleted, extended scenes of them two cops. And I'm just like, oh my God, they're so funny.
Yeah.
He was like, I think you need to slow down on the hookers and blow. And I'm just like trying not to die in the other room by a monitor, man. Just like, man, love that stuff.
Yeah. Sean C. Phillips is pretty awesome. Just about every time I see him in something, I laugh at least one thing that he does. We recently saw a snippet of Amityville Thanksgiving where he was doing like a gay lover scene with another actor, and they kept going on about flavored lubes, and I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. This guy must be a riot on the set. But so yeah, so it sounds to me like there's going to be like outtakes, deleted scenes, any bloopers that might crop up or anything like that? Or?
I don't know. I'll have to scrub through the footage and see what all I can find, because I've just got this couple of terabytes on this hard drive. I'm just looking at it like, oh my God, I got to get it onto a Blu-ray somehow. And I'm like, the film's footage is like, the Blu-ray file is like 36 gigs or something like that already. So I'm like, what all can I fit on here? I know I want like the music video. I want some deleted scenes, some alternate takes. It just depends on what all I can fit on a Blu-ray. I might just end up releasing extra stuff later on, just if I come across it though.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I guess this movie, you say, has only been out for like about 3 months on Tubi. I guess it's also available on Amazon. So if somebody wanted to rent it there or purchase it or something like that, they could do that right now. The way I understand it, you had a slightly different idea for it before you actually went to make it. And you, at some point, came to the realization that you had to adapt it for a smaller budget. And I was kind of curious what the original story was like, and when did you realize you needed to change it?
Almost immediately. I wrote okay, so the whole backstory of Mr. and Mrs. Claus couldn't have a kid of their own, so they had to help make them one in the image of Santa Claus, and he would take care of the naughty kids while Santa Claus took care of the good kids, to kind of free him up and also give him a little bit more of a sense of family. That was going to be basically like a creature feature. It's like a toy brought to life by elves to punish naughty people. And I was like, this is so cool. And then I was like, I want to shoot it for like $30,000. And people were like, all right, $150 per person per day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, I can't even make a creature with that money, man. So yeah, I was like, immediately, I was like, well, how can I do something just as cool while keeping some of that creep factor, but drop the budget by a good 50,000 realistically? You know what I mean? So we were like, I'm a huge Wes Craven fan, Scream films, stuff like that, Freddy Krueger, all that stuff. So I was like, a killer in a mask, just somebody with some motive that you're trying to figure out throughout the film, a good whodunit.
Yeah.
Originally I had a lot more red herrings throughout the script, so you'd be like, oh man, this guy's the killer, this chick's the killer, oh my god, they're the killer. So little things like that maybe didn't get to come off as good as I wanted to in this version of the film, but micro budgets, man, first time filmmaker. I feel like we got a solid story out there. It just wasn't the original story that I had wanted. It would have been a little bit more tension, a little bit more horror, suspense, but it was just kind of like 1 or 2 takes for just about everything, get through the day. And
wow.
Yeah, it was 22 days of filming over October 2020 to August 2021. It was only 22 days of filming, but it took me that long to get everybody together for every single scene, every location, reshoots, rewrites, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of adjusting to the quality of what I was making. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And of course, COVID restrictions probably had a major play into how you did things.
Yeah, because I had a lot of the people signed on right when COVID was starting to go down. I think it was March of that year. I think it was when COVID started going down. And then we started getting to October. I was like, those 2 weeks or 2 months that they were telling us to be good, hopefully we'll be good around October. Fair enough. We're still kind of struggling with, COVID in some spots throughout the world. Some heavier than others, so it's just like, the realization of life, dude, was just hitting us hard. But luckily I was able to keep everybody for the most part together throughout the production. Maybe did a couple rewrites, recastings, added characters throughout to kind of make sure we had that the high body count that I was going for.
Right. Yeah. No, COVID affected filmmaking quite a bit. I mean, just about everybody I talked to who's made something in the last 2 or 3 years, has some type of story like that where something didn't come together, or they couldn't they couldn't be in the same place at the same time. They couldn't adhere to regulations. They couldn't satisfy, whatever group that they're trying to appease to make their film. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. There was no way
couldn't afford the testing
on the budgets that we have. It was kind of like everybody take their safety precautions, isolate. Let's try to do this as safe as we can, sanitize our mask whenever we can. And it was just like, even that's just a struggle. You get a room full of adults and you still got 4 or 5 adults. So they're like, not me, not today. It's just kind of like, oh man, come on. You know what I mean? You're seeing big Hollywood productions get shut down with COVID. Let's be a little safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mark water bottles, damn it. No.
Yeah, that too. Oh yeah, that's another story I heard. Yeah. people leave a water bottle sit, they don't know who it belonged to, so it ends up getting thrown away. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what's the matter with you people?
Or Rebecca, man, that was like one thing we had her doing on set constantly. It was just like everybody would sit down to drink, run off somewhere, and come back and be like, "Where's my drink? Screw it, I'll grab a new one." And she's like, "Ah, I gotta throw this crap away."
Yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
is just for help. You don't have to do it all yourself, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. And I've even seen at least one film where it was almost entirely self-tape. So like everybody who was a part of this movie, you know, like they had recorded themselves, sent in their footage, and it just got edited together to look like a cohesive film. And I'm like, that must have been hard as hell to pull together.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you for being able to pull together a full-length feature, you know, during such a rough time, and actually have it turn out as well as it did. I mean, for a first attempt at this, that it's pretty impressive. I mean, you know, one, you have a movie, you have a final product to show, you know, and it looked pretty good. You know, it sounded good. It was awesome that you got Black Phantom on there to make you some music. That was super cool.
They're amazing.
Yeah, Mike was checking that out today.
I went down a wormhole, a Black Phantom wormhole today. As soon as I heard the music at the beginning, I was like, I mean, I'm an 80s metal guy.
Right.
So I was like, who are these guys? And I was like, this sounds cool. And I went down, I was looking at all their other stuff. Definitely will listen to more stuff from them. Very cool.
Yeah, there's actually another song that I had the rights to use for the film, but I just couldn't really find a scene to work it in. It was almost going to be in the scene where a certain character gets stabbed with a syringe in the neck.
Oh,
the song is called Either You or Me, I think it is. But that was another song that I had the rights to, but I couldn't find the right scene to put it in.
Yeah.
So, but that's a good song that check it out of theirs if you
Will
have
do.
it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make a note of that. Yeah. So yeah, I caught their music video on YouTube, and I went ahead and shared that on the page because I was like, that's a pretty cool thing to share. Since we're going to be talking to you, maybe somebody else will watch it and get some more exposure for Black Phantom. But that was really neat. That they were willing to do that for you, and that happened pretty quick. They reached out to you, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they reached out to me. I mean, obviously, I paid a fee and stuff, but it was them. I guess they were looking to do a bunch of songs for a lot of cool horror films that they liked, so they reached out to a few different filmmakers, from what I'm able to understand, and they've got some pretty cool songs and music videos coming out over the past year and moving forward as well too, from what I hear. So, pretty cool guys. I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head right now, but the bassist was the one that reached out to me. He writes a lot of the songs as well. Great guy. I can't think of his name right now.
I probably saw it too when I was looking it up. But we'll put Mike on that. He can look it up real quick.
Right.
But I did want to say that as far as a creepy factor, I mean, that was accomplished very well. So much so, before we even had a conversation at all about, coming on the show, I had started watching the movie because I was in the Christmas holidays spirit, and I was like, I'm going to watch a whole bunch of these horror films. And then I was hanging out with these guys, Mike and some other friends of ours. And I said, hey, while we're hanging out, I want to show you the first 5 minutes of this movie. And you tell me what you think. And our one friend, Nicole, I want to say that her initial reaction was, Jesus Christ, whenever the first kill happened and then he runs up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the mask was clearly a critical element to the thing. And I was just curious if you had a clear idea of what you wanted that to look like.
I really did. I told them I wanted something that was like a mashup between like Twisty the Clown from American Horror Story and Elf on the Shelf. So I had sent that idea to a guy, and he went through a few iterations, and a couple of the earlier ones came off a little Green Goblin-y, and I was just kind of like, we can get it there. It's just not there yet. So we kind of went through the iterations until we got to that, and I was like, that smile, that's what I want right there. That Twisty the Clown just hurts your soul smile. It's just playful yet terrifying. So
yeah. No, it definitely did its job. That was the first thing to jump out at me when I started that movie. And the physical acting that went along with that really sold it. I mean,
There's something wrong with you.
Who, me?
No, him for that.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people give credit to one guy for wearing that costume, but there was actually, so technically there's 3 killers on film. You may only see 2 identities revealed throughout the film, but there's 3 killers technically. And then there's 5 of us that actually wore the costume because scheduling and, you know, what have you. So there's scenes where I'm in a costume. There's scenes where I have another girl that played Mary Rose in costume. I have Clark in costume. I have the 2 killers in costume. I almost want to say my effects artist was in costume at one point in time, man, just because we were like, let's hit this shot somehow. Who wants to play it? You know what I mean? So good times, yeah.
I told Clint when you first told me to watch this, I was at work, and because I work late some nights, and I had it on at work because I knew I was going to watch it again when I was home. But I said I'll put it on. So I'm at my desk, looking and not looking, and the part with the stairs. I really was, and I just looked up when he looked up. I actually jumped back. I was like, "What the fuck am I watching? I was like, what did you just make?" I'm like, "Thanks for scaring a grown man at work." I was at work all alone, and I made a few people watch it at work, and then they were like, "What the fuck, man?"
That's just because you don't want to be alone anymore.
And see, I'm so glad it's actually starting to get viewed and get around because, you know, when I was starting out, it was like promoting, trying to get crowdfunding and everything. It's like first time filmmaker, you know, I'd only raised like a little under 14, it was like 14, 15,000 of the 30,000 that I needed. So the rest of it was out of pocket, you know what I mean? Working 2 jobs, literally donating plasma to pay people back, you know what I mean? Just blood, sweat, and tears, literally in an indie film, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm just so happy we're able to finally get it out, you know, it's just one of those things, 2 years in the making, man. And it was like everyone questioning, is it coming? I promise it's coming. It's almost there. We had cicadas. We had traffic. We had all 4 seasons. Like it was just so much things we had to work throughout that editing process. It was like, we're almost there, you guys. I promise.
Yeah. Cicadas. I never even thought about that. That would ruin audio faster than anything.
Oh my God, dude. The entire after credit scene was nothing but cicadas. And we had to shoot that during 2 different seasons, essentially, because the 2 killer reveals, they weren't able to be there on the same day. So we're shooting blocking. We're like, all right, shoot all your stuff. Next guy comes, same costume, same mask, different guy wearing it. All right, let's shoot your coverage. And we made it look like, you know, they're together and stuff. It's just like, oh man, movie magic, you know?
Yeah. I do want to come back to that end credit scene, but I think
back to Black Phantom. Bass player is Andrea Tito.
That's the dude right there. He's just super cool. He's like a true horror fan, man. Because like when I pitched him the idea, when he came to me about being able to do a song, I was like, could you do like a Sammy the Elf song? And I kind of like gave him the opening pages to that opening scene that I'd written out or whatever, just describing that whole opening, and gave them a rough idea of like why Sammy punishes people. And then they came up with that whole song, and I was like, this is perfect, dude. You didn't even see the whole movie and you pretty much nailed it. Like as I was like adding scenes and stuff to the music video and editing, I was just like, yeah, this all just fits perfectly. Like it was meant to be.
That's awesome. Well, I guess that speaks to their creativity quite a bit. You know, if they can take something as cursory as an opening scene and basically capture the majority of your vision.
Yeah, because literally, I mean, the pages were pretty close for the opening scene of what we shot, but it was still, you know, a little bit of different stuff, you know, just bigger hopes, bigger budget, etc. But they got the gist of it. This guy Bob sucks, and he's about to get punished with a bowling ball.
And for me, that was probably one of my favorite aspects of the whole movie was that opening scene. You know, it looked a little different from the rest of it, and that was intentional, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we had an older Blackmagic camera, like my DP had just got like the new G2 Ursa Mini or whatever. It's a lot better for darker lighting, things like that. It looks a lot smoother. But we were like, let's use your older camera since it's 20 years earlier for the opening scenes. And that was like a 2-day shoot with those actors that we had for that opening. And yeah, so that was intentional. We could have used the camera that we used for the rest of the film. That probably would have looked a little bit smoother. but I felt like artistically, I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. Let's just do that, you know?
Yeah.
And he agreed. So we shot it, and so we kind of modeled that opening, a lot of the shots off of like anime type shots and stuff of like the villain being somewhat secluded, you know, Bob being somewhat secluded by shadow until he steps into the light to kind of be like antagonizing the children a little bit, things like that. We were trying to get that going throughout the whole film, but you know, scheduling, lighting, so almost no crew. So it was me, my DP, and my AC. Every now and then we'd have a sound guy on set, but most of the time we did not. And sometimes we didn't even have the AC. So it was like 2 to 3 people running this show at all times. And that was it. There was like a couple of PAs that would scatter here and there, but you know, a lot of the people I brought on set weren't really knowledgeable. So we're kind of teaching them as we go. And you know, I wanted people to get experience and have fun, but at the same time, there are certain things where I was like, all right, you guys, you can go take a break. We're going to knock out like a couple of scenes real quick, you know, just real tight crew, like, especially when we had like Lynn Lowry out here. I'm like, we only got her for 5 days. We got to get all her scenes and stuff like that. So it was just like, we had no crew.
No, well, with that few people, you know, and nobody to really do sound, like I'm surprised that, you know, the sound capture was as good as it was. Was that all what you captured there, or was some of it like ADR later? Or?
We did have to do some ADR throughout of it. And then there's a lot that the sound designers were able to clean up really well for us with a lot of God, magic, I guess. I know I can't do post audio. God bless them. You know what I mean? Like, they did magic, dude. It sounded like.
I believe you. I believe you. I've seen some where like they didn't have a super talented person to like clean up audio and didn't get a good capture, and it is really hard to get through a movie like that. Like, like I mean, I say it quite a bit because I watch a fair amount of indie films, and it's like I'll give you a lot of leeway, you know, on how it looks. You know what I mean? Because you know you're gonna deal with things like that. You know, lighting wasn't great here. You know, the camera was a little shaky here. Maybe you only got one angle. Okay, you know, but I can see everything. You know, and I know what your actors are doing. If I can't hear what they're saying, that's a real problem for me when I'm trying to get through a film. So I was really glad that everything came through when I watched this one.
Yeah, me too. Because like it was so hard to find sound people here in Indiana. I'd get somebody to be like, I got you. I'm planning stuff around their schedule. They hit me up the day of, like, yeah, I'm not coming. What? No, I like hit my DP up. I'm like, hey man, please tell me you have a boom mic. He's like, yeah, I do. I was like, all right, well, one of us is gonna have to take turns doing this and lights, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, all right, I got you. Thank God I had my DP, because that guy was like a one-man army. I'm telling you, like Brandon Benz at Valorant Productions, just one-man army. If anybody's looking for like a DP that just really carry them, that's him. Like anything that was on screen is thanks to him. I mean, I told him exactly what I wanted and bugged him countless hours on end beforehand, but you know, a lot of it we get on set, it's like he's the guy, you know what I mean? I give him a brief idea of what I want, examples, and he gets it, sometimes even better than what I wanted. I was just like, oh, thank you so much.
Well, shout out to Brandon then. Yeah, it sounds to me like he was indispensable.
MVP, dude. Like I got him and like Derek Worley, the effects artist, you know, like them two. Without them, I probably would have just, I'd be locked up in an insane asylum still trying to edit this thing. You know what I mean? Just like, it's a kid.
Yeah, I bet you'd hear them in your sleep. Yeah. No, the effects were awesome on this. I'm glad that you got somebody who really seemed to know how to make one come off really well. I mean, because I've seen some movies where it's like we'll just make it look like they're doing it, throw a splash of blood and it'll look all right. You had some legit looking effects on this thing. So, I mean,
even when we did throw a splash of blood, it was like, oh, well, that seems like pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like a Diane Fracker from The Embalmers, like her little scene in the film, the baseball bat and stuff. It was like, I actually got to be the one in the baseball bat. I was like, yeah. So that was me in that costume, beating up my producer. No. But we just had like a cup of blood, and we were like, all right, this other person's getting her head busted up, and you're getting splattered with it. She's like, oh God, it's splat. Good time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, her and Rebecca had cast me as Frank in The Embalmers. So I was just like, I want to work with you guys forever. So however I can get you guys on this, let's get you on this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that that name in your IMDb. That was Frank. Now I haven't seen it in a little while. I need to go back and refamiliarize myself with the movie.
I was one of the Rats brothers towards
Yes.
the end.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So I got to share those scenes with Elaine Udy. I believe that's how you say her name. Complicated.
Sounds right.
I think it was Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman was her films. My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
She's amazing. That was one of my earlier acting roles and stuff. So like working with her, she just kind of like eased me into. Don't worry about it. Just have fun. Just go through the lines. If you don't hit them up exactly, that's fine. It's like okay, because at that point I'm like teaching myself how to write, do all this other stuff, and I'm like stick to the script. As a writer, I'm like these words are God. You know what I mean? But as I get on set and start getting people, I'm like okay, they're giving me stuff that's a little bit better than what's on page. We'll keep it. If not, stick to the script.
Yeah.
But, like you get people like Jason Crow and Sean and people like this that are just like, I can improv this whole film. I'm like, okay, let's see what it looks like. Jason Crow's Santa Claus scene, entirely improv. I wrote an entire multi-page script. His stuff would have been like 4 or 5 pages, and he's like, "Oh, this is cool, but can we do a little improv?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we just went through it. He does a whole little bit, whips out a candy cane out of fucking nowhere. I'm gonna start my own candy cane then. Dude, I'm dying. I'm just dying over there behind the camera, just like, oh my god, please don't ruin his take, because where the fuck did this candy cane come from? Who gave him a candy cane? Like,
yeah. And he even managed to give us a dad joke, which I thought was great.
That dad joke, dude. After that take, I was just like, I must know the answer. I must know.
Which I still don't know the answer. Will somebody tell me the answer?
Yeah.
I even wrote it down.
Yeah, what do you call a snowman with a six-pack?
What do you call a snowman with abs or something like that? It was like an abdominal snowman. I was like, so we hit him right beforehand. I didn't know the Sammy was going to hit him right when he got into that point of the joke. It all just worked out perfectly. I was like, yes. Everybody's going to be like, what the fuck is that joke? I was like, yes, that's how you
I was hoping he would blurt out the answer as he was dying. I was like, oh, that's...
that would have been golden, actually. Just
no,
coming out like, blah, blah, blah.
All right.
He would have done it too. It was so freezing cold when we shot that, though. I think it was like November, December. We're out behind like a restaurant in, I want to say Martinsville, Mooresville, Indiana, one of the two. And because we shot all over, it was Martinsville, Mooresville, Henryville, Indianapolis. I want to say 1 or 2 other places here in Indiana. It was just kind of like all the seasons, man. But Jason Crow, just all that blood going down that Santa suit on him out in the middle of the back of this alley in the cold. He's just taking it like a champ. I'm like, I love you. Thank you.
We'll get you hot chocolate.
Yeah, right. He's in the bathroom of this restaurant cleaning blood off of him and stuff. I'm just like, you're the man, dude. I appreciate you.
That's great. When you have people that are willing to give that much to it.
And that's the best thing about like indie film, man. Most of the people that come to these sets usually love it. You might get the occasional person who's like a hobbyist, but for the most part, we all want to see each other do well. So we show up and give it, 110%. Like, that's why I'm like, yeah, sure, I do this. This is my direction. I'm like a director, actor, writer, producer, what have you. But I will literally help you with whatever. I will move the lights. I will move food. I will do sound. I will do whatever. I will drive people. I don't even have a license. I'll drive people. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it takes to get the job done. You know what I mean? No ego there.
That's awesome. Well, I guess we should talk a little bit more of the details of this movie. One of the things I like to do is go over first impressions of what we watched. Mike, do you have any first impressions you'd like to share of this movie? As we move into it.
Like I said, as soon as I saw that scene on the stairs and it scared the shit out of me at work, I was like, I don't even want to watch it at work. I was like, I gotta go home and watch this. I was like, this is freaky. Like I said, not many things come out today that are like, I was like, this guy is legit. Every scene he was in was legit freaky as fuck. I'm just like even the neighbor that if I was his neighbor, I'd kick his ass. If I walked down the street, if I found out my neighbor gave the code to anybody, but a guy that looked like that, I was like,
that's actually a funny story. The Airbnb that we shot at for the main location, the guy that walks up with the dog is the Airbnb owner. So
is that right?
Yeah, so it was kind of like fun. He was like, "Yeah, let's get you in a scene, man." He's like his friend's dog and stuff, and I was like, "That's make people like really wonder what the hell's about to happen to him and this dog." And he just gives him a treat, waves him off. It's just like
I
that's
was, I
funny.
was like, do you see what this guy looks like? Why? First of all, why aren't you just running? But yet you're giving him the code to the kid. I was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Hey neighbor, having trouble getting in? I'll take care of that for you.
A typical over friendly suburban neighborhood, you know what I mean? Just like, what a nice guy. Like he has a box of presents right there. Like there's weapons in there for his love. Like well, I don't know why you let him eat a dog treat out that back. That's disgusting.
Yeah. Well, for me, the opening scene was tight. It grabbed you just the way it should. You know what I mean? And there wasn't too much in it. Didn't have a lot of fat. It was like short and sweet, to the point. It gave you exactly what you needed to see, and you got that creepy ass look from him. You know, right as he goes up the stairs. That was exactly the type of creepy grab that I was looking for. You know, then we just moved right into a kick-ass song. You know, with some animated credits. So I was like, hey, this is kicking off really well. I like how this is going. And it was really, you know, I did enjoy some of the characters, and I enjoyed the inventiveness of the story. You know, like instead of actually having a backstory for Sammy, you know, we had a character who had encountered him basically writing her own backstory for Sammy, which I thought was a pretty cool mechanic. And I found myself going through this waiting for the next time I was going to see Sammy. So it's like not that I didn't care about the characters. It's just I was like, okay, you know, I'm ready. I want to see another kill. So
I joke, you know, this is kind of like my tribute to like the 80s, 90s slashers, and people are like, man, there's not really that many likable characters. And I was like, well, there really wasn't many likable characters in a lot of 80s and 90s slashers movies that I watch. I'm always rooting for the killer to like take somebody out that who's kind of douchey. So especially for like my character Jason, I was like, he needs to be the stereotypical stoner. Like he's gonna smoke out of that bong, whether it's broken or not. You know what I mean? So, you know, I feel like these are somewhat realistic people that I have encountered throughout life. So I'm just kind of like, what would they do in this scenario? Like, probably laugh at this guy in a costume and not take it seriously. And then,
don't you want to clean your place up? No.
That's dead ass me. I'm just like, no.
No.
So you want it your way, take that shit to Burger King. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, and that's kind of my feeling about these types of movies too. I mean, I think I've said that before, that like I like an unlikable character because then I feel a certain amount of satisfaction when I watch him die. You know what I mean? It's like I can't wait for it. It's like, oh man, I can't wait till this guy gets it. You know. Now I still do like it the other way occasionally, where it's like you do appeal with a character and you like them to a certain degree, and then it feels different when they get killed. You know, it's like, oh fuck, now they're gone. You know, what's gonna happen now? But a slasher movie, I agree, it should have a fun flow to it, and I really don't think that you should have too many likable characters.
Exactly.
You know, with the exception of kids. Like I really feel like I should like the kids. And I've seen movies where I didn't.
I like to keep my kids kind of in that gray area because like my kids are always like, they're like Sour Patch Kids. First they're, you know, sweet and then they're sour. So I'm just like, that's the type of children I'm writing. They're gonna have a little attitude, but every now and then they're like, hey, mommy. You know what I mean? Like,
But at the same time, they're a little shitty because the adults they're around are a little shitty, you know.
I love, so like there's like a scene where it's like the mom, dad, grandma, they're all kind of like arguing and stuff. And then eventually it pans over and the little girl's like, can you guys not fight on Christmas? She's been sitting there the whole time, but we didn't shoot her coverage the entire time for that intentionally because we're like, they're talking about her as if she's not here, but you see them both keep looking over her to her where she's sitting, referring to her. So it's just kind of like, can you not fight on Christmas? And it's just kind of like, it was just so funny how that all played out. I was like, yeah, we're going to edit it like that too, dude.
Yep. So yeah, I really enjoyed Lynn Lowry. I thought she did a pretty good job of playing somebody who was trying to be a better person than she used to be, you know. But those little bad habits kept cropping up throughout it. Like she just say something like really irritating and nasty. You know, she invited her boyfriend over for when she's babysitting. You know, and just saying really abrasive, horrible things to the little girl's father. You know,
Or if
it's
it's
like,
a little girl, you'll get smarter.
yeah,
You know?
you'll get smarter.
I love Lynn.
Yeah, yeah, she was wonderful. And
He got a bad rep, the father, Steve. Steve. He's not even with the mother, and he was buying Christmas presents for them and everything. Like I felt like everybody was shitting on him. And he was
I know
like,
everybody was like, that guy's he's such a dick. I'm like, are you guys actually listening to the story though? Like, he's trying. Like, sure, he's kind of a douche, but like, who isn't in this film? Like,
yeah. If anything, you know, he just seemed to be one of those guys who couldn't get back on top of his situation. Like he was trying as hard as he could, you know, wasn't using drugs anymore, was trying to be a decent dad, you know, was trying to make sure that everybody had what they needed on Christmas, expressing concern over her car accident, you know, and things like that. And
he's the one person concerned about every single friend that's hurt. Like everybody else is just like, okay, fuck that.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, they're dead. Like, I'm like, well, he's the only one sober apparently.
Yeah. And it just seemed like he was the only one who couldn't get an ounce of respect throughout the entire thing. It's like,
100%.
like he could never overcome his circumstances, you know, and that would hurt. You know, if I put myself in his shoes, that would definitely be a hurtful thing. I don't know how he would keep a positive attitude after that.
Yeah.
So I felt he was written well, and I think that your actor who played him, Zach Miser, did a pretty great job with it.
He is fantastic. Since we shot that film, sorry, loud motorcycle. Since we shot the film, he's gone on to do like so many things. Like he's in the newest season of American Horror Story, New York City. He's in an episode of that. He's a SAG actor now. Like, you know, so many people have like gone on to do like bigger, better things. The chick that played his girlfriend, the Tiffany character, that's Britt Baker. She's Fox 59 news anchor here in Indiana.
Oh
wow, that's
cool.
It's just like a lot of people. The young girl that plays Stephanie, she was Zac Efron's daughter in that Ted Bundy film, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. Okay. That's a mouthful of a title. I think I got it right. But you know,
close enough for me.
People on the set, you know, especially for my first film, I was just like, oh my God, you guys are heavy hitters, and I'm just a chump. Luckily, my biggest strength is like knowing my weakness, and I just surround myself with people way better than me, dude. Way better.
Yeah. That's a good way to be, you know, like being able to admit that you're not the right guy to be doing something, you know, and relinquishing some control to somebody who has a little bit more skill and talent. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's gonna serve you well to help you get into like bigger and better projects. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I'd kind of like to know what you learned from this experience that's going to help you on your next one.
So much. There's no such thing as too much pre-production, you know, like plan for everything, like little things like that I just didn't think of. It was like we're filming and then somebody hits me like in the middle of the day, like we're out of toilet paper at this Airbnb. And I'm like, what? Like shit literally happens, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I DoorDash toilet paper while shooting scenes, you know, so there's just so many things to plan for. And, you know, having been like an actor, you know, kind of learning that too, it's like I do things a certain way and I like to be talked to a certain way, but maybe, you know, other people learn differently. So some people need to be shown exactly what to do. Some people need that freedom, like how I would give like Jason Crow. It's just like, play with it, my guy. You know what I mean? And he'll just make the whole scene work. Some people you may need to give a little more, you know, firm direction to. It's just like, you know, these are your emotions. This is the situation you're in. You got to kind of set them into the frame of it, you know. And first time director, I didn't know how to do that. So I'd refer to my DP a lot to kind of like help me pick up that weight. He had worked with a lot of the actors. Me and him had probably worked with most of them at one point in time or another. So we all had, you know, pretty decent working relationships where we all could be like, you know, joking around and be like, all right, that sucked. Let's do it one more time with filling, you know, and just like know that we were joking, things like that, you know. But yeah, just pre-production, man. Plan for everything to go wrong. Plan for your perfect budget and then maybe cut your budget in half and see if you can still make that film if you don't get a budget. You know what I mean? I did not want to break that 30,000 budget goal that I had for the film. So when I only raised like 14.5, 14.6 or whatever it was, I was still like, yeah, everybody's still getting paid exactly what I said. We're still shooting the same days that I said. We're not losing these locations. You guys are going to eat good. You're going to have locations to stay at. for lodging. You know, if I can give you gas or plane money, depending on what you have to do for traveling, I did. You know, there's just a lot of things like that where it's just try to plan ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, those are the directors and organizers who get the most praise, or from what I've heard, are the ones who basically tried to stick to their promises, you know, to their actors and make sure everybody gets treated well, you know, and does whatever it takes in order to make sure that comes off, because nobody wants to like fall short, you know, to the people that are helping them out, because I mean that will definitely cause a nosedive in your morale, I would think.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and then
Yeah, so like just trying to keep everybody at their pay rate and stuff and pay everybody that I can. It was like, you know, some people had to wait, you know what I mean, a little longer than expected. And luckily they all got their money and stuff, but it was still like that, are you going to pay me or am I going to cut you, Steve? You know, like type of feeling. It was just like, I got you, I promise, please don't cut me. No, they were all pretty chill about it for the most part. But, you know, it was one of those things like, you don't hate me, do you? The money's coming, I swear.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're like, I kept the baseball bat prop just in case, you know.
I was like, I got the broken bong. You guys really gonna take me out of the game? Just, you know, make it meta.
Yeah. Speaking of the broken bong, that was a really cool effect. I like that.
I can still smoke out of this.
Dude, I really wanted that in the script. The bong was decorated to be like a really Christmassy bong. It was going to be like Christmas colors, a little Santa Claus on it saying "Ho ho ho, take it to the head." You know, so it was all going to come into play throughout the story. But you know, budget wise, I just got a clear bong that says Ohio, I guess. But in order to make that work, we had 3 bongs made. It was like a taller one, a broken one, and a shorter one. You know, so that way, like, oh, here's a bong, here's a broken one, and then the shorter one was, you know, propped up against here with prosthetic and stuff. So yeah, just take a quick hit from the prop and then, you know, hold it there and just fall breathing out smoke. You know, so just do that a couple times till we got it right, and then like everything we shot in this movie was like maybe 2 or 3 takes, dude. It was just like, all right, quick. And when we were shooting that scene with the bong prop, the sun was literally coming up on the last day, and we had one more scene to shoot after that, which was like the girl waking up after the car accident. It was like one of the last scenes we shot was her like looking up from the steering wheel or whatever with the light and the smoke and stuff coming behind her.
Wow.
Right in front of the car, sun's rising. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh God, this is a night shot. So it was like, yeah, we're racing against time to get that, and I'm just so happy it turned out, you know, pretty close to how I wanted it.
Yeah,
I wanted more blood, more visceral, more pull it out. You guys see the hole here, you know, what effects, prop budget, etc. You know.
Yeah. No, I think it came together really well, and it's surprising that it came down to such a tight time frame to get all your shots in. But I mean, general impressions, you know, of you know, people who make their own films. I mean, the learning curve rate seems to be pretty steep. So I mean, I imagine, you know, with as good as this turned out, you know, the next one, you know, you're going to take all these things that you learn from it, you know, and it's going to be that much better, because you're going to pay a little closer attention to who's doing your sound and some of those other things that were really hard to deal with during this, and you'll make sure you have toilet paper on set and
right.
and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited. And I didn't mean to get so far off on actually talking about this movie, but I thought it was really cool how you managed to get everybody in the same place. So, and I know that was somewhat for the convenience of shooting, but the flow of the story seemed to make sense, you know, for the most part, to get everybody to end up at that cabin. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To have a final showdown.
Yeah. So originally we wanted Lynn Lowry to be there too, but with scheduling and booking of that location and her coming out here for the 5 days that I had her before, it didn't match up. Her character was originally going to be in that final scene where action and such happens. So, yeah. But you know, it happens.
Yeah, and I did want to say I liked the actor that you had playing the sheriff, but in general, the sheriff was kind of shitty. You know, yeah. It's like
shooting people in random. It's like,
yeah, it's like he seemed like gun happy. He just capped off 3 rounds into somebody who should not have been a target.
The guy
Not to
Gray,
mention, not to mention earlier at that original crime scene, they're handling a freaking piece of evidence with no gloves. I'm like, what the
Yeah,
fuck are
they
they
just-
doing here?
Mhm.
that guy Gray, when he was lying on the floor, he's like, "Oh, they shot the white bitch."
Dude, so that scene,
That was
that was an extra scene we added. I love that actor so much. I was like, I want like a window for you to somehow come back in a sequel if I wanted you to. So can you come back the next day and just do a little thing? He was like, yeah, sure. So like overnight, I was like, what can we have him do? And we thought of that and was just like, yes, that's it. And just the whole little Monty Python, him crawling away at the long shot. You know, like I love that so much.
That
That dude's
pretty good.
hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I like that a lot. And he did have a couple of good lines in the movie too. Like we got a Ving Rhames reference even, which I thought was cool. A little throwback to Pulp Fiction.
My favorite thing to do now that I've watched the film so many times is just like look at everybody else's reactions when they're not talking. And if you look at his reaction in every scene, it's fucking golden, dude. Like when a girl's like, "There's no such thing as Santa Claus," he's like, "You going there?" Like, dude, like his reaction is just so funny. I was just like, we got to write him more. We got to write him more. Like, such a good actor. His name's Xavier Harris. I do believe he's a Kentucky actor. So.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. No, I would love to see him again. He was wonderful. Okay. Well, there's 2 names up here: Xavier McCall, and then it says as Xavier Harris. So,
Same guy, I think, is stage name or something. I don't know. One of them's real, one of them's not. I don't recall, but I think they both take to the same guy.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And when Ray the sheriff tells Christine, "Stay behind me," she's like, "Well, that seems to be the safest place."
Dude, that was just so funny. A lot of people miss another joke that was earlier in the film where it was like, I don't think Christina likes me very much. And my grandma's like, well, to be fair, I listened to a lot of NWA when I was pregnant with her. And like, I was explaining that to the people on set. I was like, you guys don't listen to NWA? Like, I wrote this before, Jordan Peele put that song in a movie. I just want to throw that out there. You know what I mean? I had this police joke in way earlier.
Yeah. Newsflash, they didn't like cops.
Yeah, right. It was like the whole song, like.
Yeah.
Lynn was just like so funny, man. Like I loved her so much. Like just all the wisdom of her. She's worked with some heavy hitter directors, dude, and just like her having fun on set just means the world to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, thank you. She's like, I've been on some hell sets and this was good. I was worried at first because you guys were on like a skeleton crew and such, but you guys did a great job. Blah blah blah. I was like, thank you. And I was just.
Wow.
Like I said, I was like, I think everybody hates me or something because I feel like I'm doing a horrible job, but everybody's like, dude, you're killing it. This is so fun, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, thank you. It's just very humbling. You know what I mean? Like, just a great experience working with so many of these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have a favorite experience from it? Like something that it could be anything, something you shot, maybe a favorite effect that went really well, or just a behind the scenes experience that you're never going to forget?
Man, there was just so many fun experiences that we had just hanging out with them and stuff. At that final location though, like after long days, a lot of us cast and crew would just be hanging out in the jacuzzi or whatever and just having wine and stuff. And that was just fun. Just talking about all the different film sets we've been on and all the experiences we had, and just kind of like living in the moment type stuff on a film set, because you normally don't get to do that. When you're working indie films, it's like weekend warriors half the time. You're only showing up Saturday, Sunday. You're going to work the entire time. As soon as you go home, you're like, I miss those people, but I don't want to see them for a week. So but when you're like on a set where it's like you're there for like multiple days at a time, like 4 or 5 et cetera days at a time, like we did 22 days and a lot of us were together throughout most of it. It was just it just became like a little family now that we're not working on a film. I'm like, I miss my family. So I've been hardcore writing the sequel, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'll plan to get some of the gang back together.
That'd be great. Yeah. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's it.
Absolutely.
So you brought up the sequel. I'm going to bring up the end of credit scene because my real question is, Is the end of credit scene a teaser for your ideas for the sequel?
Originally, yes.
Okay.
So I originally had a pretty solid outline for a trilogy called, He Knows, They Know, She Knows. And I even had like a prequel type story that would have gone back in and showed more. So when we, not to go, well, I guess, yeah, I can go into the spoilers for this film. So as we see, there's two killers essentially in this film, in the current time period, but they were kids at one point in time. So there was an adult Sammy the Elf. And during the main killer's speech, he talks about somebody named Simon. Simon is the original Sammy the Elf. So we would have got a lot more into him, how he's connected to that family, the whole opening scene. I would have gone further into that, but that was all kind of like built into the idea that I could raise the funds for the first film. People would love it. I would get a budget or offer from somebody, and it's just I'm doing self-production, producing and everything, just getting it out there distribution wise, and it's just it didn't quite blow up as I had wanted it at first, but it's starting to find its audience and stuff. So in a meta type sense, we started to reimagine what a sequel would be like, because again, a lot of these actors have gone off to do bigger, better things. They're all becoming SAG actors. Some of them are wanting to retire. Some are just, doing different things now. I talked about Zach. He went on to American Horror Story and is a SAG actor now. Like, it's a bigger budget I need just to get him to come for a day or two, now that he's SAG. And he was one of the main characters in that first film, and hopefully going forward into the trilogy. And I'm like, I will not recast anybody. So to give you a rough idea, kind of what I want to do with the sequel and what I'm writing so far is it will take place roughly about 5 or so years after the first film. And the first film is just that. It's just a film. We're a group of friends that made a project. It didn't blow up like we had hoped. Now we're all in different stages of our career, but there's a real life killer mimicking Sammy the Elf and killing off people from the film. So anybody that was in the film, living or dead, can come back in the sequel, because we're all going to be playing exaggerated versions of ourselves. In a sense, when I talk about Wes Craven being a huge inspiration, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Scream 2, Scream 3, these are the type of elements that I'm working into that sequel plot. So like, since the characters are now popular and there's talks of a sequel getting made and there's a killer killing people in real life, the whole thing may take down at like a horror convention is what I'm kind of hoping for the big climax location. Not giving too much of that story away, other than the fact that it's super meta and everybody can come back, and there's a new design for Sammy the Elf that'll we'll have the old Sammy the Elf costume and such in there as well, but we're going to have some new designs. When you think about the Scream and Stab universe with all the multiple fan renderings of Ghostface, that's kind of what I'm wanting to do with Sammy the Elf. He's no longer going to be just Christmas. There's going to be a Halloween opening. You know what I mean? It's all playing into the opening, bigger things. And it kind of pisses me off. I just saw that new Scream trailer and I'm like, they're doing what I'm doing. No, it's on Halloween. There's multiple ghost faces. I'm like, okay, apparently I'm onto something, because I'm a Wes Craven fan and I'm following his blueprints and they're doing it too. So I'm like, okay. So hopefully I'm hitting it in the right realm of what people would want to see for a sequel, especially for something so hardcore indie like this. A lot of us are doing different things constantly, and it's hard to constantly promote this one thing. So when it comes into meta play of the story, it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I'm having so much fun writing this right now. Like, I'm a good 50 pages into it, and it's just like I keep topping myself. Like, I know the whole beginning, middle, end and stuff, and it's so fun. Everybody I pitched it to is like, dude, this is super original and I can't wait to do this and that so far. So
yeah,
can't wait.
I'm totally interested, and I hope someday to be able to see Sammy the Elf mask hanging up at Spirit Halloween or something. I mean, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah. See, right now it's just so expensive for me to get a replica of that, so I'm just kind of like, I'd love to start selling those, but like if I had to pay or charge what I pay, people would be like, no, thank you.
Yeah. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I didn't really mean to completely take over this interview. Mike, are there any questions that we didn't get to that you have that you want to throw out there?
Not really. I, for one, won't be buying a Sammy the Elf mask because I don't want that thing in my house. I like to sleep.
My lady hates it, dude. So I got that and Bob's prop head just sitting in my closet. It was sitting on my computer desk, and she'd be like, I fucking hate this thing. And now it's in the closet at the new house. She went to go in there. I was like, Why'd you put it here of all places? I'm like, it's out of the way. She was like, not when I'm getting dressed, the creepiest place of all.
I'm a 50-year-old man, and that thing scared the crap out of me. I was like, they mission accomplished with this movie. I said, you don't even have to see. I was like, that first scene was like that. This guy, but I could see that mask doing very well
Everybody
among the
loves
horror
that mask. I'm
community
so
and
proud of
everything.
that.
So. But I'm definitely in for the sequel.
Right. On.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do we want to try to rate it a little bit there, Mike? I mean, just
I'm open to honest reviews. I mean, you guys don't be nice to me just because I'm here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I like constructive criticism. You know, obviously it's not a perfect film. It wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel or anything, but it was trying to keep the wheel rolling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Have a good time. So constructive criticism way, please.
Okay. Yeah. We have a tendency to do like a 2 rating system here. We stole it from a Canadian friend of ours because we liked it so much.
Mm-hmm.
We do like a critical factor, and then we do a fun factor. So both ratings are out of 5. Let's see, from a critical standpoint, I mean, it had a pretty cohesive story. You know, it had a lot of elements that I liked. You know, it looked pretty good. It sounded pretty good. You know, you had some good quality actors in there. I mean, it's like it may have gotten a little slow in a couple of points, you know, where I feel like, well, maybe they could have trimmed a few frames and made it, you know, flow a little bit faster, you know, or something like that. But I mean, I can't really like dump on it for anything. I mean, it was a pretty good attempt. I think maybe by the time we had the killer reveal, I was a little lost on who the killer was. You know, so if I was looking for anything, it would have been just a little bit more, you know, something to make me understand who that guy really was. But I mean, I went back and watched it a second time and made a little bit more sense than the first time I watched it. So I mean, it's like it was probably just me not understanding what I was looking at.
Well, the story is all there, but I could give you credit for, you know, figuring that point out, because originally those 2 characters were supposed to be one character.
Okay.
But you know, I had given a role to one of those people. The other person was really interested and still wanted to be in it, but they wanted to be in costume. But once I got them in costume, they were like, man, can I also be in the movie? I was like, I kind of fought it at first, and I was like, hey, you know what? We'll have both of you guys as killers. Why not? So they became Johnny and Justin instead of just Justin being an adult version of Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, little things like that. Maybe it's just kind of like it could have been a little bit of confusing, but you know, once we got like those little flashback sequences in to kind of fill in those gaps and kind of like make the connection with those characters, I feel like the answers are there, but totally, I get that. There's like little red herrings and stuff that were cut from the original script that maybe would have fleshed some of that out a little bit.
Yeah. Better. Yeah. And I figured I just wasn't picking them up. And sometimes that's just my ADD coming back on me. So
no, that's film. That's indie film blubber, man. It's just, you know, it happens.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so, and a couple of nitpicky things, which might have been done intentionally, you know, for comic relief and things like that, like, you know, handling evidence, you know, with no gloves and so forth. You know, I thought that was a little silly.
Well, I wanted them to be bad cops, but honestly, I didn't even think about gloves. That just adds bad cop.
Yeah. Bad cop element that came through pretty well. And the sheriff, I kind of felt like maybe he should have considered the dad maybe to be, you know, a little bit of a suspect just because he was with some people who just got killed. And he wasn't even going that angle. He's like, okay, well, where did they go? You know, do you know of anybody who might want to harm them? It was like, well, why aren't you like considering him? You know, he was with them, for Christ's sake.
Right.
So that would have been further explored in sequels, actually.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, talking about Simon being the original Sammy the Elf, then he inducts his son and this other kid, and they hint at there being other members of this cult out there, a cult of Sammy. And you watch a lot of the sheriff's reactions when he's in certain scenes. A lot of it's pretty intentional when it seems accidental.
Okay.
So, yeah, that would have, and Sue as well, when you talk about the grandma and a lot of her personality, a lot of that comes into play as well. And things that I wanted to do in future films had I been able to do it. It was just kind of like, I don't want to give everything away in one film. I want to leave some of it. So when they watch the sequel, Saw being a big inspiration for me, it was like, I want to go back and find out why this person was a little bit like this, or maybe where they were during certain key points. Because the guy's a fucking sheriff, and he's like always late to the scene of the crimes type stuff. And where's all the deputies and everybody else? Why is he not calling in people? Why is he so happy with the trigger? And why did him and the killer have this weird little moment there at the end? So there's a lot of things there that, if you go back and just kind of look at his reactions and stuff, maybe you can kind of see what I would have gone for in a sequel had I gone in that route. Or, maybe if I do my sequel the way I want to, people hate it. I'm like, I can still return back to that because it's meta. These were all died in the real world.
Yeah.
There's a sequel. It's Stab 2. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the whole Craven thing. So there's a lot of ways I can do it, and that's why I think taking it back to like realistic type world and making it meta will help kind of ease more people into like a requel type situation. Because with me being a new filmmaker and want to attack slashers with my first film, I want to kind of evolve with each project, and looking at stuff like that, where it could have been interpreted as plot holes, but intentional was obviously never explained and may never be explained. So it is forever a plot hole. And, it's just because I can never put that out there now, or, maybe I can, but we'll see about, some of that.
Yeah. No, it came across pretty well considering, just my own personal questions about what was happening. So, I mean, and nobody ever gets
for all your critiques. It's just like, I have legit answers.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad, because that'll help me, go back and look at it again and pull some more things out of it, hopefully. Because like I said, I got more out of it the second time I watched it than the first time. So it's like, if I go back one more time, maybe like, okay, it's clicking now. I'm starting to see some things. I'll go like a 3 out of 5. And as far as fun, I mean, I'd like to go 3.5 on that, because I mean, I had a really good time with this. It was super fun. I mean, and the best compliment that I can give to any movie is the fact that I would go back and watch it again. So I mean, it's and I would absolutely, and I would like to know when the Blu-ray's coming out at some point. Whenever you finally sift through all that and get it done, and you place an order for it. Maybe we can share that on the page and generate some more support for it, because I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully another month or so, once I get done with all this moving stuff, I get everything on situated and hopefully send out and set up.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you want to chime in?
I would say not too far off from you. I would say 3.5 out of. I like the characters. Like I said, even like the ones that I was hoping would get killed, but I like the characters. I enjoyed the movie. As far as a fun factor, I would go more even to 4. I enjoy, because, like I said, I made people at work watch this. That I think even if you didn't like the story, you cannot deny being creeped out by this movie. You cannot deny the creepiness, and I like it had its funny points. The part where Sammy pulled the wig off the girl, off of Jessa, and he was like, I was hysterical.
There's a story for that too. So if you guys watch the film, you see earlier when you see Jessa, she's got like her hair looks actually real.
Yeah.
And pink in it because it was. So we shot that, a couple months before we shot the final scenes with her, and she couldn't get her hair redone because what she had done to it before was like messing it up. So she was like, I gotta wear a wig or something. So I got this wig. I'm like, oh God, no. We get her on set and I'm like, this wig looks awful. I'm sorry, it doesn't look anything like what we had before, but that's making it work. You know what I mean? So we wrote it into the story. It was like, let's have Sammy go to snatch her and he just grabs the wig off. You know what I mean? And we could just act like it was a wig the whole time.
His response was like, he was
it's like, what? That's really cool. I didn't realize that was written in, so that's a really cool tidbit to take away.
A whole lot of the film was like, again, just readjusting, recalibrating. It's like, okay, we don't get these actors today. We got to do some recalibrating. Let's do some blocking, maybe some slight rewriting, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, it just kind of all worked out. Luckily, it was just like one thing after another, but we kept finding solutions.
That's great. Well, I didn't mean to talk quite so much, but what I like to do at the very end of these things is to basically give you an open platform to talk about upcoming projects, places where people can find more information about what you're doing, or just things that you're passionate about that you want to draw attention to. So you had mentioned earlier about your next project being Bad Apples. I didn't know if you wanted to bring up anything about that and tell people where to find you.
Absolutely. So main place to find me is probably going to be Facebook, Stephen Anthony Morris. You can also find the film He Knows the Movie on there, the website and everything. Links will be on that page. There's a website for my production company, MorrisBetterPictures.com. People can actually already pre-order Blu-rays and paint your own figures of Sammy the Elf and Sammy's Helper on that website. There's also links to the music video trailers and such on that website as well. The film's available on Amazon, Tubi, Plex, a few other platforms. Just places you can reach me and check out some of my work. Bad Apples is going to be the next feature film that I'm working on. And that one I would compare a little bit more to The Good Son or the film Orphan. It follows the antagonist, a young girl named Alice, who's a self-absorbed sociopath, and she starts to show her true colors as her foster family adopts yet another kid to steal her spotlight. So a lot like The Good Son, but with a girl. So the script for that so far is getting polished up in its final form. So far, the people that have read it all love it. Morgan Pyle, who played Stephanie and He Knows, is the one attached on to play Alice, the antagonist for the film so far, which also is the lead. Most people have the protagonist as the lead character, but with this one, we're going to follow the antagonist and kind of see her, go down that rabbit hole of insanity kind of and losing her mind kind of. It's such a fun character because like when you look at like Macaulay Culkin's character in The Good Son, it's just kind of like, man, what was this kid's motivations? What was that? Why did he hate this dog? You know what I mean? Like, like that. It was just like I really wanted to do deeper dives into that type of mindset and what would make somebody that way. And I feel like we've accomplished that in the script so far with this character Alice. And there's a lot of fun. I wouldn't say twist because a lot of it's straightforward. We're going throughout it and watching her divulge, but there's some fun situations that'll kind of twist some things around on the stories and plot. So
that sounds like a pretty exciting story, and it sounds like a pretty challenging role for Morgan.
She was so excited for it. Like, they're constantly messaging me talking about when we're gonna get this going. I'm like, as soon as I get everything out for He Knows and I can get the pitch deck and everything ready for this, because like I said, so far I'm just polishing that final draft of the script, trying to make sure it's all nice and tight, and so I don't have to do 20 rewrites like I did He Knows. No, you know what I mean?
Sure.
One of the main things I learned was have all that stuff planned out ahead of time, have your sections blocked off. So like, you're going to shoot this week, this month, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody that signs on to the project already knows the dates ahead of time, get it in contracts, they're signing on for those days, et cetera, to hopefully avoid any of those situations. I know stuff still happens, but again, those are little things that I learned from previous films. It's like going forward, we're going to make sure everything is just on point. I don't want to have to keep people guessing like, hey, in 2-3 months, we're going to finish these scenes off. Are you going to be alive? You know what I mean? Like COVID, et cetera. It's just like, you never know, man. You never know.
And are you doing another crowdfunder for that? Like another Indiegogo or something? Or?
Yeah, probably be doing one for that mid to late next year, because again, I just want to make sure I got all my ducks in a row for this one, and we're already scouting locations. I'm already kind of talking to a couple of the bigger actors for some of the characters, from some pretty big hit films this year that I'm hoping will come and do this film. So far, they're digging a script. I don't want to say their names yet and jinx myself, but some really big box office breaking names possibly coming to Bad Apples if I can get the schedule and everything to work out just right as the film gods wish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some fun names. Honestly, I can't say anything.
Okay, I got you.
I'm trying to stop myself. I know you're not prying it out. I'm the type of guy that buys a gift like 3 months in advance and gives it to you. Like, dude, check it out. So it's just.
Yeah, it was killing me for you not to have this.
As a writer, dude, I'm messaging people constantly like, dude, I just thought of this really cool way to kill you in a sequel. And they're like, dude, I died in the first one, but tell me anyway.
Yeah, that is absolutely awesome. Yeah. Well, no, I look forward to that. And anything that you feel like you'd want to share with our Facebook page, please do. I mean, the platform's open to you. Anything you want us to try to support you with, like when you get a crowdfunder up or something like that, we'll definitely try to push it a little bit for you. I mean, it's just we like being kind of part of the indie community
Absolutely.
as we can, as we can fit in. So, in interviews like this are really a great thing, and we love it. And I absolutely appreciate you taking the time to sit here and talk with us today. And I'm going to try to get this thing out as soon as possible. So, I mean, here we are in the holiday season. I want it up before Christmas, so I'm going to work on it tonight.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much
Hey,
for having me, man.
hey, you're very welcome. So, I'll just end with our taglines. Since Don isn't here, I'm going to steal his and say, "Don't let the bad ones ruin a good time." And then I will say, "I hope you find movies that haunt you." And have a good night, everybody.
Have a great night.